He was the kind of man a city envied. Horatio Spafford moved through Chicago's corridors of power with quiet confidence, a lawyer's mind, an investor's instinct, and a faith that ran deeper than either. His home on the North Side was always open, to friends, to strangers, to the evangelist Dwight Moody, who would sit at Horatio's table and talk long into the night about God and suffering and grace. He had a wife, Anna, whose faith was as fierce as her love. He had 5 children. He had everything. Then the fire came. October 8th, 1871. The sky above Chicago turned orange, then red, then black. By morning, the real estate empire Horatio had built lot by lot, deed by deed, lay in ash and ruin. He stood at the edge of it all and said nothing for a long time. Weeks later, his 4-year-old son was gone too, taken by scarlet fever, quietly in the night. 2 years passed, the wounds scarred over as wounds do. Horatio threw himself into rebuilding. He worked, he prayed, he breathed. By 1873, he thought perhaps the worst was behind them. The plan was simple: a family trip to England to rest, to breathe sea air, to support Moody's revival meetings in London. Annie was 12 now, tall and serious. Maggie was 9, all curiosity. Bessie was 5, fearless. And little Tinetta, barely 2 years old, had her mother's eyes. Business held Horatio back. A zoning dispute, paperwork from the fire, still smoldering in courts 2 years on. He kissed each daughter on the forehead. He held Anna's hands. He told them he would follow in a few days. He watched the SS Ville du Havre pull away from the dock. He never saw his daughters again. The passengers were sleeping when the iron hull of the Loch Earn tore through the side of the Ville du Havre like a knife through paper. The ship listed. Deck chairs slid. Lanterns swung wildly. Then the screaming started. 12 minutes. That was all it took. In 12 minutes, 226 souls were taken by the Atlantic. Among them, Annie, Maggie, Bessie, Tinetta. Anna was found unconscious, draped across a piece of floating wreckage. She did not know how long she had been in the water. When they pulled her aboard the rescue ship, she asked about her daughters. No one answered. That silence was its own answer. 10 days later, the survivors arrived in Cardiff, Wales. Anna walked to the nearest telegraph office. She had almost no money left. She counted every word because every word cost precious cents. She sent 7 words. Saved alone. What shall I do? Horatio read it once, then again. Then he sat very still for a very long time. His 4 daughters. All 4. He did not collapse. Those who knew him said later that they almost wished he had, that his stillness was more frightening than any grief they had ever witnessed. He arranged his papers. He booked passage on the next available ship. He did not sleep that night. He crossed the Atlantic alone toward a wife who was alive and a life that no longer made sense. Somewhere in the middle of the ocean, the captain came to find him. He brought Horatio to the bridge. He pointed to the charts. He said quietly, "We are passing over it now. This is where she went down." Horatio looked out at the water. There was nothing to see, just gray ocean, infinite and indifferent, 3 miles deep. No marker, no memorial, just waves moving as waves always move, as if nothing had ever happened there. Somewhere down in that darkness were Annie's ribbons, Maggie's books, Bessie's shoes, Tinetta's small hands. He stood there for a long time, and then, in a moment that defies every human instinct, every logic of grief, something broke open inside him that was not despair. He went back to his cabin. He wrote, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." He reached Anna. Moody came from Edinburgh to be with them. The 2 bereaved parents said to him simply, "It is well. The will of God be done." Moody wept. They did not. They returned to Chicago. They had more children. They lost another son to the same scarlet fever that had taken their first boy. And even when the church grew cold and strange in the face of so much suffering, they made a decision that only people who have lost everything can make. They left, all the way to Jerusalem. They built a colony there, caring for the poor, the sick, the homeless, people of every faith and none. They poured everything they had left into the lives of strangers. Horatio died of malaria in 1888. He was 60 years old. Anna continued the work until her own death in 1923. In the American Colony Hotel, still standing, still beautiful, there are photographs on the wall. 4 little girls in Victorian dress, dark eyes, lace collars, serious expressions that children of that era were taught to hold for photographs. Annie, Maggie, Bessie, Tanetta. They are the reason the hymn exists. They are the fourfold loss that drove a man to the edge of the abyss and somehow, inexplicably, caused him to look down into it and sing, "It is well, with my soul." Maybe you are standing at your own ocean right now. Maybe the thing you lost cannot be named in polite company. Maybe it was a marriage, a child, a dream you built for 20 years. Maybe it was your health, your reputation, your faith itself. Maybe the fire came for you. Not flames, but the kind of slow burn that leaves nothing standing. And maybe, like Horatio, you sent people ahead of you, people you loved, and something went terribly wrong. I need you to hear this. Your pain is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It is not punishment. It is not proof that your faith was wrong or your prayers were weak. Horatio Spafford was a righteous man who lost everything. And the Bible is full of people just like him. Job, David, Paul, Mary standing at the foot of a cross. Suffering does not mean God is absent. Sometimes it means you are standing exactly where He is working most deeply. You do not have to be okay today. You do not have to perform peace. But I want to invite you into the same impossible thing Horatio chose. Not denial, not pretending, but a decision deep in the bones to trust the God who holds what the ocean took. The trial you are in will not have the final word. It will not be the last sentence of your story. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy, real joy, is still coming. It is well. Even now, it is well.